The New England Patriots competed against the Baltimore Ravens yesterday in an all-important playoff game. This formidable opponent of our beloved football team reminds us that today we celebrate the baptism of the Lord, described in our gospel reading from Mark. How so, you may ask? What's the connection? We just heard about the heavens being torn open and the Spirit, like a dove, descends on Jesus after he came out of the water. Considering what happened yesterday, perhaps we can rephrase this to read, Foxborough being torn open and the ravens descended upon the Patriots. They descended all right, but were defeated in a very exciting, heart-stopping fashion, and I can still speak, which is fortunate. I know not everyone is a Patriot fan, but anyways. Speaking of ravens, why in our gospel about the baptism of the Lord don't we read, the heavens being torn open and the Spirit like a raven descending upon Jesus? If I could revise the gospel, that's what I would say. I don't object to the dove, the peaceful dove. However, I have a fondness for ravens. Not from Baltimore, mind you. And why not? These large black birds have a very special place in our Bible, where they are mentioned a dozen times. And I'd wager that very few inside this church this morning can think of one place where the raven is mentioned. Well, here's one example, but few of us will remember it. It actually puts the dove in second place behind the raven. For those of you who recall the Bible's Genesis story about Noah and the ark, consider this quote. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the hatch he had made in the ark, and he sent out a raven to see if the waters had lessened on the earth. It flew back and forth until the waters dried off from the earth. We only remember the dove. The dove was sent out last. The dove got the credit. The dove got the limelight. The dove went out 3 times to see how far the flood had receded. Then the dove skedaddled. It never came back. Perhaps we should see the Holy Spirit as a raven and not as a dove. Some of you may be thinking, switching from a white and peaceful bird to a black and aggressive bird, that can't be right. But consider this. Ravens are very intelligent birds that play and work together. They cooperate. They're curious and they're resourceful. In many cultures, the raven represents the mystery of the unknown, death and transformation, creation, healing, wisdom, protection, prophecy, and the uncovering of lies to find the truth. Also, many original Native Americans on the West Coast believe that messages from the Creator were buried in the wings of the raven. So I'm the Raven's campaign manager, delivering these in-the-wing messages on behalf of our Creator. As Catholics, we need to be aggressive and smart ravens and not docile and passive doves. We need to relentlessly pursue truths by using our wisdom, our curiosity, and our resources, spiritual as well as financial. We must never tolerate lies from anyone, such as from politicians and even from some of our church leaders. We must cooperate with each other for holy causes, such as healing and protecting people, especially the weak and the oppressed. We must not stand by idly while injustices occur. We should not be quiet, cooing doves, but loud croaking ravens creating a ruckus when we witness wrongdoings. As with Jesus, the Holy Spirit we received at baptism provides gifts and fruits we are expected to use to fight the good fight for God's will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. I end with the beginning of the well-known and often quoted poem, The Raven, written by Boston-born Edgar Allan Poe, who happened to die in Baltimore. That's the football connection. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, "only this and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped the stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Poe's words remind us that when we are weak and weary and nearly napping, the Holy Spirit, that pesky raven, raps and taps at our chamber doors to wake us up and then have us open our doors. In then steps the raven and says in Poe's memorable words, nevermore are you to be complacent. Nevermore will you ignore or tolerate injustice. Nevermore will you fail to show mercy. Nevermore will you displease God. Quote the raven, nevermore